He was sketching his cowboy hero Blaze Bronco from his wheelchair by the barn, lost in a world of glowing lassos and galloping horses, when a black pickup truck rolled up the dirt road. Two men, Michael Draper and Kevin Niles, stepped out, claiming to be HOA enforcers, in a place where no HOA existed. One shoved his wheelchair hard, scattering his drawings in the dust. The boy froze. Then a man walked out of the ranch house, a rodeo legend. They never should have crossed. What happened next? You won't believe it. Let's ride back to the start. Dusty Trails Ranch sprawled under the wide West Texas sky, where golden plains stretched to the horizon, and the air carried the scent of hay and leather. It was the kind of place folks fled to when they craved open space, far from city clamor and nosy neighbors. On a lazy Saturday, the ranch hummed with life. Cattle lowed in the distance. A windmill creaked lazily, and the faint strum of a guitar drifted from a neighbor's porch. It felt like the world had slowed down, wrapping the land in a warm, golden haze. In a weathered ranch house off the main dirt road, Melissa Cooper stood at the kitchen counter pouring strong black coffee into a chipped mug, her hands rough from years of mending fences and grooming horses moved with quiet efficiency. The oven radiated warmth, filling the room with the buttery aroma of fresh cornbread. She glanced out the screen door, a smile tugging at her lips, as she watched her 10-year-old son, Liam, parked in his wheelchair by the barn. He was hunched over his sketchbook pencil, dancing across the page, his tongue poking out in deep focus. Liam wasn't like other boys his age. Born with cerebral palsy, he relied on his wheelchair to navigate the world. But his imagination ran wilder than any Mustang. That morning, he was crafting his latest hero, Blaze Bronco, a cowboy with a glowing lasso and a stallion that could outrun a dust storm. The pages of his sketchbook fluttered in the breeze as he added sparks to Blaze's boots, dreaming of epic rides across the plains. Melissa stepped onto the porch, balancing a glass of lemonade on a crate beside him. Still working on Blaze. "Bronco partner?" she asked, her voice soft. Liam nodded, eyes glued to the page. "Yeah, but I'm giving him a fire whip now. Cooler than a lasso." She ruffled his hair, chuckling. 10 minutes till breakfast, all right." As she turned back to the house, a familiar figure filled the kitchen doorway. Travis T-Bone. Carson, Melissa's oldest friend, leaned against the counter sipping coffee as black as the oil in the fields, broad-shouldered and scarred from years in the rodeo ring. Travis was a legend. First as a bull rider, then in Netchaman, as an MMA trainer. A recent knee injury had forced him to slow down, but his presence still carried the weight of quiet strength. He and Melissa had grown up breaking horses together, sharing dreams under starlit skies. When her husband passed away the year before, Travis made it a point to check in his visits, bringing a steadiness she hadn't realized she needed. They swapped stories of old rodeo days, buckle wins, broken bones, and late-night campfires, laughing over memories of Travis's wilder moments. "You still got that trophy from '08, Melissa teased. Travis grinned, his knuckles scarred but steady around his mug somewhere in a box. "Worth more for the story than the shine." Their laughter faded as a low rumble interrupted the morning calm. A black pickup truck, its paint gleaming unnaturally in the dusty light, rolled slowly down the dirt road. No one paid it much mind. At first, delivery trucks and stray ranch hands were common enough, but this one was different. Its windows were tinted pitch black, and it bore no plates. Liam, still sketching by the barn, didn't notice as the truck stopped abruptly in front of the house, its engine cutting out with a heavy thud. Two men stepped out, their boots kicking up dust. Michael Draper, tall and wiry, with mirrored sunglasses and a clipboard, wore a khaki vest emblazoned with HOA enforcement. Kevin Niles, stockier and scowling, had a walkie-talkie clipped to his belt, though it stayed silent. Their presence felt wrong, like coyotes circling a herd. Melissa's stomach twisted as she caught sight of them through the kitchen window. "Travis," she said, voice tightening. Come look. He joined her, his jaw setting as he saw the men approach Liam. You expecting company? He asked. She shook her head. Not them. Never seen 'em before. Outside. Draper loomed over Liam, his gaze cold, as he eyed the wheelchair. Travis's hand tightened on his mug. What the hell are they doing? Why would HOA enforcers show up at a ranch with no HOA? And what happens when they cross the wrong boy and the wrong man? If you're gripped by Liam's story and Travis's grit, smash that like button to keep this tale trending. The morning sun climbed higher over Dusty Trails Ranch, casting long shadows across the dirt yard where Liam sat sketching. His pencil traced the fiery whip of Blaze Bronco, each stroke a defiance of the limits his cerebral palsy imposed. The barn's weathered wood creaked in the breeze, and the distant lowing of cattle blended with the hum of a quiet Saturday. But the black pickup truck parked in front of the Cooper house shattered the peace, its presence as alien as a storm cloud in a clear sky. Michael Draper, the taller of the two strangers, stood over Liam, his mirrored sunglasses reflecting the boy's wheelchair like a cold accusation. His khaki vest, stamped with HOA enforcement, hung loosely on his wiry frame, and the clipboard in his hand seemed more prop than tool. Kevin Niles Stockier, and sweating through his matching vest, paced nearby his walkie-talkie, silent but menacing. Their boots scuffed the dirt, kicking up dust that settled on Liam's sketchbook. Melissa Cooper, watching from the kitchen window, felt her heart lurch. Travis? They're too close to him, she whispered, her voice tight. Travis T-Bone Carson, the former rodeo champion, set his coffee mug down with deliberate calm. His scarred knuckles flexed and his eyes narrowed as he studied the men. They're not HOA, he muttered. No way out here. Things off. Outside. Draper's voice cut through the air, flat and rehearsed. This wheelchair's blocking community access, he said, gesturing at Liam's chair as if it were a stray bale of hay. Liam froze, his pencil hovering over Blaze, Bronco's half-drawn whip. Melissa stormed onto the porch, her boots thudding against the wood. Excuse me, she called, her voice sharp. He's on our land. He's not blocking anything. Draper didn't look at her, his gaze fixed on Liam. We've had complaints. He continued, flipping a page on his clipboard. This setup violates HOA codes. You've been warned. Melissa's hands balled into fists. That's a lie. There's no HOA on this ranch. Who are you? Niles stepped forward, his scowl deepening. We're the HOA, he snapped, pointing at Liam's chair. That thing's a hazard. Next time we're fining you. The air grew heavy like the moment before a stampede. Travis stepped out beside Melissa, his broad frame filling the porch doorway. His face was calm, but his eyes held the focus of a man who'd faced bulls and brawlers. You're on private property, he said, voice low. Explain yourselves, Niles sneered. Mind your business, cowboy. Then it happened. Without warning, Draper turned and kicked Liam's wheelchair, not hard enough to tip it, but enough to jolt the boy's fragile frame. The chair rattled, and Liam gasped, his sketchbook slipping from his lap. Pages fluttered across the dirt, Blaze Bronco's fiery whip smearing in the dust. For a heartbeat, time stopped. Liam's eyes widened with fear and confusion, his hands gripping the armrests. Melissa's scream shattered the silence. What is wrong with you? She ran to Liam, dropping to her knees beside him. Draper scribbled on his clipboard, unfazed, as if he'd swatted a fly. Niles chuckled, crossing his arms. Should have moved the kid, he said. Melissa's heart pounded, her arms wrapping around Liam. Sweetheart, are you okay? Liam nodded slowly, his voice trembling. Why'd he do that? Mom? She had no answer, only fury. Travis hadn't moved, but every muscle in his body tensed like a coiled rattler. His gaze locked on Draper, then Niles. The ranch fell eerily silent. The distant cattle quiet, the wind holding its breath. A neighbor paused his tractor in the field, squinting at the scene. Travis stepped off the porch, his boots deliberate in the dirt. "You kicked a disabled kid," he said, his voice deadly calm. "That's gonna be a problem." Draper finally looked up, sneering. "You got a hearing problem, tough guy." "This is HOA business." Niles puffed out his chest. "Back off or you'll regret it." Travis's eyes didn't blink. "You really want to find out what happens when a rodeo legend faces two fake AHOA thugs who've just hurt an innocent boy? Will Travis unleash his fury, or is something bigger brewing?" The air at Dusty Trails Ranch crackled with tension, the kind that settles just before a thunderstorm breaks. Liam sat frozen in his wheelchair, his small hands trembling on the armrests, his sketchbook scattered in the dirt where Michael Draper's kick had sent it. Blaze Bronco's fiery whip lay smeared across a torn page. A silent casualty of the moment, Melissa Cooper knelt beside her son, her arms shielding him. Her heart, a wildfire of fury and fear. "You're okay, sweetheart," she whispered, though her voice shook. Liam's wide eyes darted to the two men who'd invaded their peace. Michael Draper, tall and wiry, stood with his clipboard scribbling as if the world hadn't just tilted. His HOA enforcement vest gleamed under the Texas sun, but his mirrored sunglasses couldn't hide the arrogance in his posture. Kevin Niles, stocky and sweating, loomed nearby, his walkie-talkie dangling uselessly from his belt. "Should have listened," Niles muttered, smirking at Melissa. "That chair's a violation. Next time we tow it." Melissa's jaw tightened. "You're no HOA. I'm calling the sheriff." "No need," Draper said, his voice cold. "We're the authority here." He turned away, dismissing her, but his gaze locked on Travis T-Bone Carson, who'd stepped off the porch. Travis stood in the dirt, his broad frame casting a long shadow. The former rodeo champion and MMA trainer didn't look angry. His face held the calm of a man who'd faced chaos and walked away unscathed. His scarred knuckles hung loose, but his eyes burned with a predator's focus. "You kicked a disabled kid," Travis said, his voice low, each word a warning. "Explain why," Niles laughed, a grating sound that echoed off the barn. "Mind your damn business, cowboy," Draper sneered, stepping forward as if to shove Travis aside. That was his mistake. Travis moved like lightning, his right fist exploding forward with the precision of a bullwhip. The crack of knuckle, meeting jaw rang out, and Draper's legs buckled. He hit the ground like a sack of feed, his clipboard clattering beside him, sunglasses skittering into the dirt. The ranch fell silent, save for a distant dog's bark. A neighbor on a tractor froze, mouth agape. Another, mending a fence, pulled out her phone recording. Niles stood stunned, his eyes flicking to his unconscious partner. "Big mistake," he roared, lunging at Travis, but Travis sidestepped with the grace of a matador, grabbing Niles's arm mid-swing and twisting it back. Niles howled, stumbling, and Travis swept his legs, slamming him to the ground. The thud of bone on dirt echoed like a gavel. Melissa rose slowly, still shielding Liam, her fear melting into something new. Relief. Liam stared at Travis, his eyes wide with awe, as if Blaze Bronco himself had stepped out of the sketchbook. Niles groaned, clutching his arm, his vest twisted awkwardly. "You assaulted an officer," he spat. Travis crouched beside him, voice ice cold. "No, I stopped. A criminal pretending to be one." Neighbors began to gather, drawn by the commotion. A ranch hand dropped his shovel, phone raised. An older woman. Mrs. Delgado stood on her porch, nodding approval. "Got it all on video," she called, waving her device. "These frauds are done." Melissa checked Liam's chair, her hands trembling. "You sure you're okay, baby?" Liam nodded, clutching a torn page of his sketchbook. "He's like Blaze Bronco, Mom." Travis turned to Melissa. "You all right?" She nodded, gripping Liam's shoulder. "I think so." The crowd grew ranchers, Their kids, even a feed truck driver who'd pulled over. Phones recorded every angle. Draper's sprawled form. Niles's groans. The black pickup with no plates, the illusion of control the fake HOA men had wielded, was gone. Shattered by a single well-timed punch, sirens wailed in the distance, cutting through the ranch's newfound buzz. Melissa let out a breath, her pulse still racing. Travis stood unmoved, his boots planted in the dirt, a quiet guardian in a storm he'd just quelled. Liam picked up his sketchbook, fingers brushing Blaze Bronco's smeared whip. He looked at Travis and whispered, "He's got to have a cape now. The sheriff's coming. But what secrets will the fake HOA men's truck reveal? What would you do if you saw this happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And let's talk justice." The dust at Dusty Trails Ranch still hung in the air, stirred by the chaos that had erupted moments ago. Michael Draper lay sprawled on the dirt, his HOA enforcement vest, crumpled, a thin trickle of blood staining the ground from a chipped tooth. Kevin. Niles groaned nearby, clutching his twisted arm, his walkie-talkie lost in the scuffle. Liam sat in his wheelchair, his sketchbook clutched to his chest. Blaze Bronco's torn pages a quiet testament to the violation he'd endured. Melissa Cooper stood beside him, her hand steady on his shoulder, her eyes flickering between fury and relief. Travis T-Bone. Carson stood like a sentinel, his boots rooted in the dirt, his broad frame casting a protective shadow over the Coopers. The former rodeo champion's face was calm, but his scarred knuckles, still red from the fight, told a story of controlled power. Neighbors crowded closer, their phones capturing every detail. Draper's unconscious form, Niles's defeated sprawl, the black pickup truck with no plates. Mrs. Delgado, the neighbor with the video, shouted, "This is going viral." A ranch hand nodded already, texting the clip to friends. Sirens pierced the morning calm, and a sheriff's cruiser screeched into the yard, lights flashing. Two deputies stepped out, hands near their belts, eyes scanning the scene. The sight of the fake HOA men, their gear scattered, and the crowd of witnesses shifted their demeanor from cautious to commanding. What the hell happened here? The older deputy, a grizzled man named Hargrove, demanded. Melissa stepped forward, her voice steady, despite her racing pulse. "Those two," she said, pointing at Draper and Niles, "showed up claiming to be HOA. No ID, no proof. They kicked my son's wheelchair." Hargrove's eyes narrowed, landing on Liam, who looked small but unbroken, his sketchbook trembling in his hands. Travis spoke up, his voice even. "Check the neighbor's footage. It's all there." The younger deputy, recognizing Travis, blinked. T-Bone Carson, the rodeo guy. Travis gave a half smile. Was a long time ago. Niles, still groaning, raised his head. "That lunatic assaulted us." Hargrove ignored him, kneeling to inspect Draper's fake badge. "Laminated garbage," he muttered. "No barcode, no seal." Props paramedics arrived, their boots crunching as they fitted Draper with a neck brace and lifted Niles onto a gurney. Niles howled as they moved his arm. He broke it. The younger deputy leaned in. "You kicked a disabled kid. You're lucky it's just an arm." The crowd murmured agreement, some cheering quietly. Mrs. Delgado handed her phone to Hargrove. "Got the kick and the knockout," she said. Another neighbor, a feed truck driver, added, "I've got the truck pulling up. No plates, tinted windows. Shady as hell." Melissa knelt beside Liam, brushing dirt from his sketchbook. "You're so brave, baby," she whispered. Liam's lip quivered, but his eyes shone as he looked at Travis. "He's like Blaze Bronco, Mom." "He saved me." Travis crouched beside him, his voice soft. "You saved yourself, kid. You didn't back down." Liam's faint smile was brighter than the Texas sun. The deputies cordoned off the pickup, calling for a tow. "We've had reports of scams like this," Hargrove said, glancing at Melissa. "Fake HOA, fake inspectors. They prey on folks who don't ask questions. You just blew their game wide open." Travis nodded. Wrong ranch, wrong kid. The crowd buzzed phones. Still recording, a local reporter pulled up her cameraman already filming. Word spread fast in ranch country, and MMA cowboy flattens. Fake HOA thugs was too good to stay quiet. Melissa's phone vibrated with texts, neighbors, friends, even a cousin in Lubbock. A video clip was already circulating. Tagged Mount Justice at Dusty Trails. She glanced at Travis, who stood apart, hands in his pockets, dodging the reporter's questions. "This is gonna be big," she said. He shrugged, just did what needed doing. But for Liam, it was more. He flipped open his sketchbook, tracing Blaze Bronco's cape. "He needs a lightning bolt now," he whispered, like Coach Travis. As the ambulance pulled away, sirens fading, the ranch settled into a tense calm. But something had shifted. The fear Draper and Niles had tried to wield was gone, replaced by a community's resolve. Melissa hugged Liam, grateful for the man who'd walked into her kitchen that morning and stood up when it mattered most. The video's going viral. But what will the sheriff uncover about these fake HOA scammers? And how will Liam's hero, worship, inspire something bigger? The sun rose over Dusty Trails Ranch, painting the plains in hues of gold. But the quiet of the morning was anything but ordinary. Melissa Cooper woke to her phone buzzing, relentlessly. Texts, notifications, voicemails, from neighbors, friends, and strangers. She rubbed her eyes and opened a group chat, stopping cold at a message. "You're viral." A video still showed. Travis T-Bone. Carson mid-punch his fist, inches from Kevin Niles's jaw, with Liam's wide-eyed face in the background. The caption read, "Fake HOA thugs mess with disabled kid. Rodeo hero says." Nope. It had 4 to 2 million views. In the kitchen, Travis sipped coffee. His knuckles faintly bruised, but his demeanor unruffled. "They found the clip?" he asked, smirking. Melissa laughed, despite herself. "Found it. They've got slow-mo replays and epic music." Liam, already awake, wheeled in, clutching his sketchbook. "Coach Travis, you're Blaze Bronco." Travis chuckled. "Kid, you're the real hero." The story had exploded. Reddit threads dissected every frame. Twitter buzzed with #Justice at Dusty Trails, and news outlets ran segments titled, "Ranch Justice, One Punch, One Truth." Sheriff Hargrove's investigation uncovered Michael Draper and Kevin Niles's scam they'd posed as HOA enforcers across rural counties, extorting ranchers with fake fines. The Coopers' video, backed by neighbor footage, blew their scheme apart. Families came forward reporting similar shakedowns. Draper and Niles faced charges, impersonation fraud, and assault on a minor. Plea deals landed them prison time and restitution orders, their fake badges, now evidence, in a growing case. 3 days later, Liam stood, or rather wheeled, at the town hall, accepting a bravery award from the mayor. A local artisan gifted him a cowboy cape, red with a gold lightning bolt, which he clutched like a treasure. Travis stood beside him, hands in pockets, dodging the spotlight. A boy in a wheelchair approached Liam, shy but beaming. "I saw your video," he said. "You made me feel seen," Liam grinned. "We're not invisible. We've got heroes that night." Melissa found an envelope in the mail, a full scholarship for Liam to join an adaptive rodeo program funded by a veterans group tied to Travis's old rodeo circle. Liam's hands shook as he read it. "I'll train like Coach Travis." Travis smiled. "Better than me, kid." The legal fallout continued. Ranch associations statewide audited their contractors, spurred by the scandal. A mural rose at the community center depicting Liam with a glowing lasso, Travis mid-punch, and the words "Real Strength Protects Melissa" printed the mural on shirts, raising funds for disabled kids and veterans programs. Orders poured in from across the country. Each sale, a reminder of the day fear turned to pride. Liam visited the mural weekly, pointing out details: the lasso's glow, Travis's faint smirk. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Travis and Melissa sat on the porch. "Never thought one punch would do this," he said. Melissa nodded. "It wasn't the punch, it was why you threw it." Inside, Liam sketched a new hero. Justice Jaw, a cowboy with Travis's grit and a cape like his own. Dusty Trails Ranch, once shaken, stood stronger, its people bound by a truth caught on camera. When fake power preyed on the innocent, real strength answered. The stars blinked above, and the plains whispered of justice that didn't just knock, it roared. This story is more than a viral video or a single punch. It's a testament to the strength found in community courage and compassion. Liam, a boy whose wheelchair couldn't confine his imagination, faced cruelty, but emerged as a beacon of resilience. His love for Blaze Bronco, a hero of his own making, mirrors the heroism he inspired in others. Melissa's fierce protection and Travis's decisive action show that true power lies not in titles or badges, but in defending those who need it most. Michael Draper and Kevin Niles preyed on fear, exploiting trust in rural spaces like Dusty Trails Ranch. Their defeat wasn't just physical, it was a communal stand against deception. Neighbors with phones became witnesses, their footage a shield for justice. The mural, the scholarship, the charity shirts, all ripple effects of one moment, when right triumphed over wrong. For every Liam, there's a community waiting to rise. For every Travis, there's a chance to remind us that heroes don't need capes, just conviction. This story challenges us to ask, who will we stand up for when fake power threatens? Will we record, speak, or act? Let's honor Liam's courage by fostering spaces where the vulnerable are seen, protected, and empowered. Justice isn't a one-time punch. It's a legacy we build together. What's your favorite moment from Liam's journey? Share it in the comments, and let's keep this fire burning.